So some of the concepts that I'll be talking about in general during this video you can find in more detail from these links. There's many videos linked from this dashboard page that will provide additional tutorials on how to do various things in Sitefinity. And you're welcome to explore some of these videos if you're interested. But most of your time is going to be spent in the pages area where you can create brand new pages or modify the existing pages that are part of your website. So I'll just click pages here. And you can see Sitefinity is giving me an overview of all the pages in my website. And when you see this icon, it means there are child pages under here. So I could click this to expand it and see that there's a little child page linked underneath events. So I want to pause for a moment to explain a concept. Now you see these navigation links that exist in this menu. This menu is generated dynamically, which means I don't have to tell Sitefinity to add a new link here because Sitefinity knows what my sitemap looks like. And this is what we're looking at here, which is that sitemap. So if we look at Home, About Us, News, Blog, and I switch back over to the other page, Home, About Us, News, Blog. What this means is that if I create a new page here, I automatically get a new page in this navigation. Furthermore, if I wanted to reorder these pages, if I wanted the events page to be before About Us, I can just click events, hold down my mouse button, and drag this up a few lines, and then just insert this here so I've moved it up a bit. And then if I go back over to my other page and hit refresh, you'll see that events has now been added to the very top of the list. So by using the sitemap here in Sitefinity and by organizing all the pages however you might like them to appear, you'll have a lot of control on how those links appear on your public website. So let's move on then to create a new page. And to do that, I'll obviously click this Create a Page button, and I'm then prompted to give a name to this page. So what Sitefinity is asking us is when it creates a link to this page, as these links automatically get created here, what do we want that name to be? So for some of these past pages I would have used volunteer or donate in this field, but for this new page let's just create a services page. And notice as I was typing down below, I'll move my mouse cursor here, watch next to my mouse cursor, as I type, Sitefinity is automatically creating a website address based on this name that I'm typing. And as I browse through the website, if I were to click events, you'll see this website address represented up here at the top. And if for any reason you wanted to override this, you could just do that by clicking the change button and typing whatever you like. But in most cases you can leave it alone. Sitefinity should choose the right name based on the name that you're typing above. Now we also have an option to create pages that don't show up in navigation. As I explained, anything we create in the sitemap is automatically going to appear in this navigation. If we did not want that to happen, I could just uncheck this box. The page will still exist and it'll work fine if someone visits it, but it won't get automatic navigation. Beyond that, we're able to type a title for search engines, and everyone is interested in getting some exposure through Google and other search engines. And although for the name, because it's ultimately getting dynamic navigation, you want to be brief, you don't want to be too wordy, otherwise this will stretch very far. For the title for the search engines, we can be much more explicit, and probably should be much more explicit because search engines will be looking at this. Now from here we're being asked to use a template, and this is very important because this ultimately establishes what your page is going to look like. So I'm going to click use a template and then select another template, and these templates that get created will vary a little bit depending on each website, so you'll have your own unique templates that some developers and designers have set up for you in advance. And they probably will explain to you which templates you should use for various scenarios. In this example I have a 2-column template as well as maybe just a 1-column template. For this new page I am going to use 2 columns, and then we'll see what that looks like here in just a second. So I'll select that template, click done. And then I have some other additional options. In most cases you can probably leave these alone, and for now, just to keep things simple, I'll just hit the create and go to add content button. So this is Sitefinity's page editor, and this is where we edit the page or create the content for the page. And you can see I inherited all this navigation, all this design, all these looks, and the reason I inherited all of this and the reason this page looks how it does is because I chose a template. All of this stuff we're seeing here was set up and established through the template, and then what remains for me are just a couple of editable regions in the page. And as I mentioned, this is going to vary a little bit for each website. There will be different editable regions, there will be different templates, obviously different looks. But the thing that you will use to create the content on these pages are these little editable regions. And what you'll do, as the instructions are telling us here, are drag and drop widgets. And here are our widgets to ultimately create content. So Sitefinity comes with a lot of different widgets, and these widgets just address different scenarios that you might want to handle with your website. A very common widget that you're going to use is at the very top here. It's the content block widget, and it's just used for adding arbitrary content to a page. So what I'm going to do is hold down my mouse button, and drag this widget into one of these editable regions, and I can position this however I want, but I'll drag it into this placeholder right here and just let up my mouse button to drop this here. And now Sitefinity is instructing us to enter some content. I can just click this link, and what I'll get in my web browser is a little text-based editor. It's almost like you can think of it as Microsoft Word that I can type content into. So just to show this in action, I could type services into this content editor. I could also click my mouse button, highlight this, use these buttons to bold it or italicize this. So there's all these options for how you want to do a little bit of formatting in here. I can also click this more formatting options and select from a few other little options that I have here for formatting this text. Now another option that you're probably going to use very frequently, and I've typed services here, and you can think of this as almost the title that will display to people visiting this page for the page. So this is our services page. This is a very important title we're adding to the page. So I can use this drop down, and you see all these little styles that I can use: heading 1, heading 2, and because this is a primary title, we're going to use this heading 1 style. I'll apply this here. You can see the text gets very, very big, and then I'll hit save, and we'll see what happens here. So look how that got reformatted. It has a blue background, has a little drop shadow effect. It looks very stylized. It looks like it fits the design of our website. Now the reason this happened is, again, because of that template, because a developer and a designer set up all of this for me, and there's some styles that surround this little editable region that I'm putting content into. And I selected that heading 1 tag, and they added some styling for that heading 1 tag, and it just gets used. So you'll need to interact a little bit as you're first learning this with the designers and the developers that set up these templates to understand a little bit which of these styles you should be using and when. But in most cases, those primary titles, those very important titles, they'll use heading 1, and most other little subtitles will then just use heading 2. So I've added a title, and I could even click edit here and continue just typing content under this. That's one way you could do it, and that's perfectly fine. Or if we want to separate these out a little bit more, I could drag and drop another content block just under this services title and then click edit once more. And here we could type even more content. Obviously just begin typing content. To save us a little time, I'm just going to paste a little example or sample content into this little editor. So here you can see I have some paragraphs that I have added, and just like in Microsoft Word, I could highlight some of this text and bold it if I wanted to, or italicize it. I could also insert a list in here. If I wanted to have a brand new list, I could just click this button and say item 1, item 2, item 3. Sitefinity also comes with a spell check that we could use that I won't use for this sample text because it's all actually Latin sample text. So there's a lot of formatting options that you can make use of to make your content look how you want it to look, and then you can just hit save. It gets inserted into your page, and once again inherits all that styling that those developers and designers have established through the templates that you selected. So we've now looked at adding new content to Sitefinity and also editing content that we could obviously do just by clicking these edit buttons for these existing content blocks. The next thing I would like to demonstrate are how to add page links to your website. So for that, I will just edit one of these existing content blocks, and I will turn item 1 into a link. So to do that, I'm going to mouse up here, and you see there's another icon This is labeled as Hyperlink Manager. It looks like a little web link. We'll click this. There's another icon that looks very similar to it, but that's just simply for removing links. So if you already had a link in place that you wanted to remove, you'll use this other button. So let me click here. And now Sitefinity is simply asking us, what kind of link do you want to add? Now, if you're linking to another website, a page that does not already exist on your website, you'll use this first option, web address, and you'll use this web address field, and here I could just type whatever I wanted to in this web address, and that would become a link. However, if you want to link to a page that exists on your website, you don't want to use this option. You want to use this second option, which is page from this website. And now you don't have to type a web address to it because Sitefinity already knows the web addresses associated with each of your page. Instead, you just need to select which page from this list do you want to link to, and then you can tell it the text that you want to display for this link. We could stay with About Us, and then I just need to scroll down a little bit here and you'll see the Insert the Link button, and I can click Insert. Look at this. This changed. It changed the text. I had item 1, but I told it I wanted to display the text About Us, and it changed that to a link. Now the advantage of using this option, because Sitefinity knows where your pages are, if I were to ever modify this page, move it somewhere else in the site map, this link isn't going to break. Sitefinity knows what the website address is, and it'll just automatically update it. So this is really handy for avoiding those broken links that you so often end up with as your website evolves. So I'm done here, and I can click Save. Now at any time as I'm working with this content, if I wanted to preview what this looks like, I can just hit the preview button and it opens up in a new browser window. So although it sent me somewhere else, it's still very easy to get back. I just need to click that other browser window to get right back to where I was. We can also hit the Save Draft button. So if anything were to accidentally happen, your computer crashes or whatever, you've saved those changes. You haven't published them live, but they have been saved and protected. And then when we are actually ready to go live, we can just hit the Publish button.